In the spirit of the holidays, we want you to celebrate with your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicappers and do it at a discount by giving you a one-time 25% off everything you can fit into your cart between now and midnight on December 25th using coupon code GIFT25 when checking out. While this coupon can only be used once at WagerTalk and once at Sports Memo, the value is unlimited and there is no limit on what you can add to your cart when redeeming. Daily, all access, season, pick your team, and even mix and match handicappers as the combinations are endless. Remember, there is no limit to the number of handicappers at WagerTalk and Sports Memo you can lock in, but coupon code GIFT25 will expire at midnight on Christmas. On behalf of everyone at WagerTalk, Sports Memo, and Gold Sheet, we want to thank you for supporting us in 2022 by watching our videos, following us on social media, and trusting us with your wagers. However you celebrate, we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Happy Thursday, guys. Carmine Bianco. This is WagerTalk TV, and this is Stoppage Time. The World Cup is over. My God, what an absolutely phenomenal World Cup final. If you're looking for the dream final, you guys got the dream final. Lionel Messi and Argentina, looking for him to pick up that World Cup trophy. And who better to face than Kylian Mbappe and the defending champions France in that final? And goals were aplenty. And of course, the game goes to not only extra time where both teams score a goal, but goes to penalty kicks. You couldn't have asked for anything more in a World Cup, a phenomenal World Cup. I was pretty happy with how I did in the World Cup for my clients. But we are now back to domestic league soccer and the EPL. And some Boxing Day games. We're going to look at some games that go on Monday and Tuesday. And with me from WagerTalk.com, it's Nick Borrman and Kevin Dolan. And of course, the prop master himself, Pavlos, Laguretos, the Sports Memo. Boys, what a World Cup final. All I'm going to say is I love the World Cup this year in the sense of profitability. But as far as that final goes, the only thing it's great watching Lionel Messi win and hoist the World Cup. The only thing that might have made it better for me is I had a future on France, a small 2%er at plus 550. That would have added to the profits of that World Cup. But boys, what did you think of the World Cup? Anyway,
well, I'll go. Yeah, it was nice. I think match day one was probably the worst. For me, especially, but as soon as I got, a sense of what the teams were doing, match days 2 and 3 were really profitable, and then the knockout round was really, really nice. We hit some props there. We hit some goal scoring props, the 2-2 correct score in the Netherlands versus Argentina. It was. I had also a future in Argentina to win, South America to be the winning continent, PSG to score the most goals. There's all kinds of props out there, guys, and you should take advantage of them because they're really, they're much more profitable than trying to, make out what's going to happen in a match between Tunisia and France that didn't even matter. So I think we all did a great job, and looking forward to continuing the streak on these club matches.
Yeah, and domestic league kicks off. You know what I mean? Like Nick, Kev, I'm not sure. I tweeted this out about the World Cup final after the World Cup final and the celebration part of it. Listen, I'm a purist. I believe when a team wins, the team celebrates. The managers, the trainers, the medical staff celebrate. You don't bring in guys on the field who aren't part of the celebration. And I was pretty peeved that idiot, the guy who sprinkles salt on meat and charges people $1,800 at his restaurant, is on the field grabbing players, trying to take selfies. He actually got his hands on the trophy, lifts it up over his head, and then kisses the trophy. That's an absolute abomination of what is supposed to happen on the field, and FIFA should be embarrassed. But then again, FIFA and what went into this tournament is a story in itself. But did you guys see any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I seen it, and you're not alone in respect of. There's a former boxing champion, Frank Buglioni, and he said if he tried that coming into the ring trying to celebrate him, he would have threw him on his own barbecue. So yeah, I mean, it went down like a bit of a lead balloon, to be honest, that whole episode.
Nick, EPL, man, you're looking forward to it. I think you've been having a pretty good season across domestic leagues. You got to be happy about this, about everything kicking back off, the World Cup over. We've got all the top leagues going over the next 7 to 10 days, and then right around the corner, the first or second week of February, it's Champions League, and you had a good run in that as well.
Yeah, Champions League and Premier League were definitely my best before the World Cup break. So looking forward to the return of those. I am very nervous, I will say. I'm sure you guys are thinking the same way. I look at the games right now, like especially this on Boxing Day, and I'm like, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that. And then quickly I'm like, wait a minute, who's out and who's going to play? And, you don't know what teams' forms are going to be after a 6-week unprecedented mid-season break. So pump the brakes a little bit, I would warn everybody out there, at least for the first week or two as you gauge how these teams return to action. But I am excited for the return because, listen, club football is the love. World Cup is cool. It gets everybody involved and pays attention to soccer a little bit. But this is where we can make the money over the course of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys before we get going in here, there's a lot of discussing and preamble before we get into this. I'm going to tell you a story of the EPL and Boxing Day games very quickly. So here north of the border in Ontario, before sports gambling, which only happened last year, became legal where you can books were issued licenses, the government had their own sports gambling where you could go to the store and it was parlays. You had to play parlays, and it was called Proline. And it was a Sunday, Boxing Day. The games were on at 10 a.m. And there was also NFL football. So I go to the store to play some NFL football, and I asked the guy to print out the odds. And it prints out the odds, but all the EPL odds are still there. And I'm like, well, this is odd. These games are all over, and I know the scores. It's like having tomorrow's newspaper. So I fill out a slip, and I hand it to my friend behind the counter with the results of the early games. He throws it through the machine and prints out the ticket. The Ontario Lottery Corporation, which had just started Dolan, did not know the games were being played at 10 a.m. instead of 1 p.m., had the games listed at 1 p.m., and you could bet them after the games were over. So I quickly started to text a bunch of friends. The guy who was a friend of mine who owned the store literally locked the door, and he played the max amount that each retailer is allowed to play on different combinations. We had draws, we had wins, we had everything going. And the Ontario Lottery Corporation released a statement saying that they're not going to cancel any of the winning tickets and that their liability was very minimal. But I know that it was anything but minimal. But that's my story on having tomorrow's newspaper today. So it was.
And that's how I became a millionaire.
So, a fragrance millionaire. All right, guys, let's get to it. These are the 3 games we are going to cover. We are going to do Monday's games, Leicester and Newcastle, Arsenal, West Ham, and then we're going to go to Tuesday for Chelsea and Bournemouth. And let's kick it off. First game on the card, Leicester City and Newcastle. The odds on this one, Leicester City plus 225 at home. The draw is plus 250. Newcastle plus 120 favorites on the road. And this is a team that's having a fabulous season thus far. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Kind of like what Nick said, I'm going to leave all the analysis to you guys, the plays to you guys. But these first games after more than a month off for the World Cup break, and you just wonder whether these teams are tight defensively or not, and whether they can just pick up where they left off. Give me your thoughts on this game.
Well, I mean, you could argue that the World Cup break came probably at the wrong time for Leicester. They looked as if they turned the corner. They amassed 4 wins from 5. All 4 of those wins coming in nil as well. And, that's a massive turnaround from a team that at the start of the season was allowing a league worst 24 goals over the first 9 games. So, our Leicester, quote unquote back. It's probably still a little early to say. But I've nonetheless been impressed with the way Brendan Rodgers, kind of like Arsenal have as well. And, I've always said in this panel that I always thought Brendan Rodgers would be a good fit at that side. But, I've been impressed with the way Rodgers has leaned on his younger core players, to deliver for him in these games from that, poor start to the season. Harvey Barnes has scored in every single one of those 4 victories that Leicester have had. Tielemans has scored twice in those games as well. Maddison has scored twice. So, Leicester look to be playing with some kind of newfound energy back in the squad. But, as you said, they face a Newcastle team here who I've been really impressed with all year. I backed them against Chelsea before the break. They're sitting third in the league overall. It just shows you how far Eddie Howe has, brought this team up as well. With that injection in cash, they feel comfortable now, almost trading blows with the big boys. They already beat Chelsea, as we said. They beat Tottenham. They drew at United. They drew at City. Got really unlucky in that game against Liverpool as well. So, this Newcastle team, you can kind of say they're for real this season. They're a bona fide Champions League level team, for all intents and purposes. So this is a tricky game to call. Kind of seeing how well both teams have been playing of late. Saying all that, looking at the teams Leicester shut out over recent games, Leeds, Wolves, Everton, West Ham, none of those are on Newcastle's level this season. So I think that shutout streak will come to an end in this one. But, by the same token, while Newcastle's own defensive record has been incredibly strong this year, especially at home, 4 straight shutout victories now heading into this one. With the way Leicester are playing right now, plus the fact they've scored 11 goals against Newcastle in their last 3 head-to-heads inside the King Power as well, I don't see Newcastle being able to deny them either at the back. So I'm going to take the both teams to score in this one, minus 140. I think we see a 2-1 type of affair either way here on Monday. Not quite sure which way it'll go, but I like the value with the both teams to score prop on this one.
All right, Kevin Dolan at WagerTalk.com. And Nick, I like his idea of both teams to score. I don't think every team will be tightened up defensively. They're playing some friendlies thus far, but you look at Newcastle, only 11 goals allowed in 15 rounds thus far of the EPL season. The only team that is equal on that is Arsenal, of course, who are top of the table with 37 points. Having only allowed 11 goals. The next closest after that is Man City at 14. And only 6 goals allowed in road contests through 7 games for this Newcastle team. What are you thinking on this one on Monday?
Well, both of you guys mentioned a lot of the important numbers to know for the game, so I won't get too much more into that. But I kind of look at it sometimes the other way. With that much time off, I think the offensive gelling can be more out of sync than necessarily defense, while teams find their rhythm and start scoring goals, as Leicester did, as Kevin hinted at that they weren't doing, and then started to do and started to win some games, although their defense was really the catalyst of that, as they were all clean sheet wins. I wonder, how that's going to work out, how the teams are going to gel. Newcastle, you already mentioned how good their defensive has been. They're definitely the outlier in the Premier League this year, not a top 4 team we normally see, but they've definitely earned it, and they belong where they belong. The one thing I'll mention is on Leicester is, when you look at their numbers for the season, obviously they started off just embarrassing is probably the best word to use to the beginning of the season. But at this point now, you start looking at even their home numbers. It's bad. Leicester is the worst team in the league in terms of creating quality chances. They average just 0.7 expected goals per game. That's the worst in the league. From a volume standpoint, 10.9 shots per match, 3.7 on target. That both ranks near the bottom at number 17th. They've also not been able to really create much attacking danger in the final third, including earning corners. They've averaged just 4 per game, which ranks 18th. So all their numbers at home, where you're supposed to be, if you're one of the better teams, supposed to be taking advantage of things, they simply can't do. And I'm not so sure about the both teams to score. I think it could happen, but I don't know that there's going to be a lot of goal-scoring chances either way in this match. I definitely agree with Kevin. I'm confused on the side. If it was, before the World Cup break, Newcastle's the quick way to look, but Leicester was playing well. But I just don't think there's going to be a lot of chances. Leicester has proven they don't create a lot of quality chances. Newcastle has proven they don't give up a lot of quality chances. So I think this might be a little bit void of a lot of attacking. So, the under right now is just simply at 2.5 goals. And I see that as a likely scenario for this match. Of course, we could get the 1-1, and Kevin and I both cash the ticket, which is more than fine. But I just don't see a lot of opportunities either way. So I think under on this match, and honestly, maybe a lot of the matches coming back this weekend might kind of gear that way. But at least for this one, I like under.
All right, Nick Borrman with the under in this one. And yeah, Nick, 1-1 would get you both there. The great thing about this show is with the three of you, there's always some differing opinions. And I'm going to bring in Pavlos next for the final thoughts on this game. And something tells me he wants to go mano a mano with the guy who's got the boxing gear behind him. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but Pavlos, final thoughts on this game.
It surely can't be a good thing, right? I know nothing about boxing, while Kevin seems to know his, his things. So, the way I'm looking at this, I just look at the stats and look at some philosophical reasons why I'm picking both teams to score no at plus 125. Now, as Kevin said, Leicester have kept a lot of clean sheets lately. In fact, they've kept 8 clean sheets in the last 9 matches in all competitions. The only goal they conceded in that span was against Manchester City. Both teams to score no is 9-0 in those 9 matches, and Newcastle are 6-2 to the both teams to score no in their last 8 matches in all competitions. Now, Leicester, they have the 3rd best home defense in the league with just 6 conceded goals in 7 matches. It's on the road where they're really struggling defensively. At home, they're quite good. While Newcastle, they also have the 3rd best away defense with just 6 conceded goals in 7 matches. So I think the price is a bit too high. So I'm taking both of them to score no at plus 125. I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, I also like the under, but I don't know, maybe one of these teams blows up by 3-0. I don't really see it. I would go to the under 2.5 goals at minus 102 as well, but I like both teams to score no plus 125 because the price is better and the stats kind of telling me to do so.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos, a sports memo. Going mano a mano with Kevin. Let's have a look at the recap of Leicester City and Newcastle. We'll pop it up on the board for you guys. Taking notes at home for the next show. Nick is on under 2.5 at even money. Pavlos, both teams to score no at plus 125, and Kev, both teams to score yes at minus 140. They're throwing it down, and I'm pretty happy about it. But let's throw it down with the next game, which is Arsenal and West Ham. Let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Arsenal minus 195 at home. The draw is plus 338. West Ham at a juicy plus 537. And Kev, I'm going to go right back to you. This Arsenal team, who would have thought they would be the leaders at the winter break? But here we are. We're 15 rounds into the season. Round 17 officially is what it is, but Arsenal and Man City, who are first and second, have only played 14 thus far. Arsenal have a 5-point lead. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, they did just lose to Juventus, didn't they? So that could be the start of the Jenga collapse now we're going to see in 2023. Who knows? But look, I was one of them. I definitely wouldn't have seen. I liked Arsenal. We did in the preview show at the start of the year. I did like Arsenal top 4 and all that. I did expect them to be much better this season, but not this good. They've definitely overperformed in my mind. But, this is another game I actually see goals in, Carmine. No question, West Ham have been in some absolutely dismal form this season. Definitely not the kind of form you'd expect from them, being a European level team. And, a large part of that has been their kind of new acquisitions have failed to kind of gel. Scamacca scored just twice all season. Even the West Ham players that are there, Antonio and Bowen, they haven't done a whole lot better. I think they're both on 2 goals as well. And, David Moyes, because of that, he's yet to find that click on offense, that kind of formation that he needs in order to really kickstart this season into gear. 12 goals across your opening 15 games, it's just not going to get it done. That's the 4th lowest mark in the entire league right now. So arguably the break might have done West Ham some good ahead of this one, give them some time to reset, as it's obvious that, competing across multiple competitions has started to take a serious toll on this squad, over the last few seasons. And on top of all that, his first assignment back is to try and unseat the league leaders here. So it is a tough ask for West Ham on Monday night, given how much they've struggled this season. But, these London derbies are always fierce encounters, and it doesn't really matter where in the table either team are. Both teams will be coming to win this one. And as a testament to that, both teams have scored in 3 of the last 4 meetings between these two sides as well. So as much as West Ham have struggled to convert their chances this season, you'd imagine crosstown rivalry against Arsenal, they'll be well up for this one and looking to take all 3 points off the Gunners as a result. So, as we know, Arsenal have been ruthless in front of goals this year, 33 goals scored in the season so far. Only Manchester City have netted more goals overall. and they own the league's third best expected goals rating as well. So I see a competitive game here on Monday afternoon, I should say, I believe, instead of night. Arsenal haven't been denied in front of goal at home all year in the league, haven't failed to score once. I don't think that changes here. And by the same token, I think West Ham will be well up for this one, as we said. So, both teams to score again for me in this one, -115 on Monday between the Hammers and the Gunners.
Yeah, I like that one, Kev. And it's funny, Nick, Kev mentioned the Arsenal losing to Juventus. I think I sent you guys the stat line of that game. It was just a club friendly, but Arsenal 75% possession in that one, and 19 attempts on goal, only 2 shots on goal. To 3 attempts and only 1 shot on goal for Juventus, and the final score is 2-0 for Juventus. But both goals were own goals scored by Arsenal in the first minute of injury time of both halves, as Xhaka and Holding were credited with the own goals for Arsenal. So it's quite the amusing stat line if you had Arsenal in that one, but I wouldn't be betting club friendlies anyways. But Nick, give me your thoughts on this one. Arsenal, West Ham.
Well, let me start off by asking, Kevin, have I told you how smart you look today? Because, I agree with you on everything you said about the both teams to score metric for this game. But sometimes what I like to do in these type of matches, when I do think both teams are good on the board, I'll try to see if I can find a winner as well, because a lot of times you can combine the both teams to score and result market and get a very nice return, and that's what I'm looking at here. So Arsenal, Kevin mentioned maybe they're overperforming. I think they're overperforming what expectations were on the season, but I don't think they're overperforming how they played on the field this year. I mean, they are first or second in every major category across the board as far as statistics go, so they deserve where they are in the table. In fact, at home, they're number one in just about everything. Expected goals allowed, shots on target, defensive shots allowed on target. I mean, you name it, they're right there. So they deserve their spot. West Ham, Kevin mentioned too, 12 goals in 15 matches. There's a reason they've only won 4 games. But I think they're too good to stay where they are for too long, and eventually they're going to get their, for lack of a better way, shit together. But the head-to-head series between these teams has proven that that the West Ham does come to play when they play against Arsenal. They've scored in 7 of the last 9. Arsenal have won 5 of the last 6 head-to-heads overall. They've also won 7 in a row at home over the Hammers. So I mentioned combining a side with the both teams to score. I think you can quickly figure out which way I'm going to go here based on the trends of this series, but also because of just how Arsenal have played this year. Yes, they're going to be affected, I'm sure, by the World Cup break, but so is West Ham. So maybe there's not an advantage here. I don't see, Gabriel Jesus is the only missing piece here probably for the Gunners, although Saliba, he was part of the French team, so I doubt he's going to be lined up as well. But I don't think Jesus is going to be a big deal to be missing for the Gunners in this match. So I like Arsenal still to win. I'm not a big fan of the goal line, which is set at -1. I think, that's a likely scenario there for them just to win by 1. But I do think they'll figure out a way to win this match. I mentioned how good their numbers are at home. They're 6-0 at home, but they've also conceded in 5 of those 6 matches as well. The only one they kept a clean sheet was against lowly Nottingham Forest. So I would not be surprised to see West Ham out here. I could see this thing ending 2-1, 3-1 maybe for Arsenal. So if you combine Arsenal to win with both teams to score, you can get a little over 2-1 on your money. It's +220 at FanDuel. I think it's +200 at DraftKings, and those you'll find under the same game or one game parlay markets. But combining both of those, I think we get a nice return. I think that's kind of how this match is going to end up playing out.
All right, Nick Borrman, Wager Talk. And, Kev talked, Pavlos, I'm going to go to you for the final word again on this one. Kev talked about, the break coming at the right time for some teams. And sometimes you look at it as, almost use the phrase, the great reset, and what West Ham can do sort of moving forward. And then Nick makes some good points on this is probably with this being the first game back after the World Cup break. Do you want to lay more than a goal in this one? Do you even want to lay a goal here in what could be a 1-goal game? I think 4 of the last 5 games have been 1-goal games between these two. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, there is an unwritten law in soccer when you have struggling teams that tend to take time off to resolve their issues, and that's why we often see them performing much better after a lengthy break. And right now we had a lengthy international break, and the same goes for teams that were in form. We often see them losing some of that steam after so many weeks of inactivity. So in this case, Arsenal were in really good form prior to the break, and West Ham were in horrible shape. So I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal started to dip. Of course, they're missing Gabriel Jesus, and there's really not an adequate striker to just to slot into the starting lineup. It's probably going to be Nketiah. I'm not sure who's going to start there at the striker position, but that could spell trouble for Arsenal. I mean, I do see them winning here, but it's probably not going to be easy. I looked at the Arsenal stats, and 9 of their last 14 wins this season came by exactly 1 goal. And when you look at West Ham, 6 of West Ham's 9 losses in all competitions this season came by exactly 1 goal. Now, Arsenal, they've dominated this matchup in recent years. As Nick said, they won 8 of the last 10 matches against West Ham. Regardless of venue, they have 8 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. 4 of those wins came by exactly 1 goal. And in fact, 3 of the last 4 wins against West Ham came by exactly 1 goal. So I was actually tempted to back West Ham with +1 goal here because for the reasons that I just stated, because of of teams in form who perform much worse after the break, and teams who were struggling perform much better after the break. So I'm going to take Arsenal to win by exactly 1 goal at +200. You can find this prop at DraftKings. Just go to the game props tab, scroll down to find the winning margin, and then pick Arsenal to win by 1 goal at +200. This covers, this bet hits if Arsenal win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and so on. So I like Arsenal to win by exactly 1 goal at +200.
Yeah, I like that too. And the 1-0 and 2-1 are the most likely results, I think, in this game as well too. So let's have a quick look at the recap of what these guys think is going to happen in the Arsenal and West Ham game on Monday. Nick, with Arsenal money line and both teams to score yes +220, some nice odds there. Pavlos with Arsenal to win by exactly 1 goal at +200, so a 2-1 scoreline gets them both there. And Kev with both teams to score yes -115. So yeah, 2-1 scoreline is perfect for the 3 of you guys. We could sweep the board on this one. We'll go to the last game on the card. This one goes on the 27th on Tuesday, and it is Chelsea and Bournemouth. The odds on this one, Chelsea -313. The draw is +439, and Bournemouth a big juicy 867. Why did I put this as one of the 3 games? Because the odds are so huge on Chelsea, and they're just not in good form. If there was anyone who was looking for the break, Kev, prior to the World Cup, it had to be this Chelsea team. They sit, I think, 8th or 9th right now, 17 goals for, 17 goals against, with a 5-3-6 record. The Graham Potter experience hasn't gone as well as they thought they would. Give me your thoughts on this one.
No, it hasn't, Carmine, and for as good a tactician as he is, newspaper reports are surfing, and the players are really upset with him in terms of he keeps continually changing the squad, changing the tactics, changing the squad again. When you're working with a big 6 club, obviously you want a stability in the lineup. Players want to know what positions, what roles they're playing. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen down the line with this club. So look, it's no surprise. I like Bournemouth in this one, catching the head start. Chelsea had 12 players called up to that respective World Cup squads over the last few weeks. Obviously, that was the 3rd most out of any team in the league, and first came back here after the tournament. It's something that I've kept an eye on in Scotland as well. They came back last week. Seen some rustiness. Celtic haven't covered either of the first 2 games as players start to come back. And, as you mentioned as well, even beside all that, it's not like Chelsea were even playing that well before the tournament began either. Winless in 5 straight, lost each of the last 3 games outright as well. So, while this break may present an opportunity for Chelsea to try and reset, rearm here ahead of a big 2023, there's absolutely no way I can be laying a multiple goal head start here. On a Chelsea team that just failed to impress all year. And on the other side of that, we have a Bournemouth team here. Gary O'Neill got the permanent manager job 3 weeks ago. They've been on a decent run. They've lost just 2 of the last 5 games away from home in the league. And take out that lopsided 9-0 loss against Liverpool from earlier in the season, and they actually ranked 7th. Now, there is a game difference in there, but they still nonetheless actually ranked 7th in the league in defensive XGA since October 1st. So I'll take a shot with the Cherries here, catching a plus 1.5 goal head start in this one, as, until I see Chelsea actually turn a corner, and by all reports, that could take a while. I want no part of them at this price. So yeah, Bournemouth for me plus 1.5 on Tuesday.
All right, Kevin Dolan with Bournemouth plus 1.5 goals in this one. Kev, I'm good with cherries as long as it comes in a glass of amaretto. It's some DiGiorno amaretto, but there's a Bournemouth team, Nick, that I have a futures bet on them to get relegated. And it looked good early on, but they picked up a win just before the break to bring them above the relegation zone by I think 3 points or so. I'm good with a one goal Chelsea win here. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, Carm, if XG is any indication of future success, which Kevin and I will quickly, we always talk about it, we'll quickly say that it's never going to predict the outcome of a match, but it is a very good predictor of season-long and long-term results. And Bournemouth are at or near the bottom of those XG numbers. So you're probably sitting in a pretty good position with them being relegated. I think they've overperformed with a couple of results so far this year. And their numbers will clearly, as you can see on the screen, show that as they rank 19th, 18th in expected goals. I told you guys as I sent the graphic prior to this is Chelsea. Listen, the green and the red is just who's better than the other. It doesn't mean that you're in a good position at the table. You can clearly see Chelsea's numbers here. They're green because they're better than Bournemouth's, but they still rank for most situations in the bottom half of the table. Arsenal, Newcastle, the stories of the Premier League as far as success goes. Liverpool, but more so Chelsea, the opposite side of that. And Liverpool, I say not as much so because their metrics are actually still pretty good. They just haven't been getting results. Chelsea's metrics just suck. So they're a team, I agree with Kevin. I would not feel comfortable laying 1.5 goals on until we start to see them being able to cover that kind of number. There was that Potter replacement effect at first where they did play, I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks where all of a sudden they did get a couple of results, but that clearly has faded off. Kevin mentioned some, upset people in the locker room as well, which is very, very true. So not a team I want to get behind and nor do I trust on laying the goals. They're also probably going to be without a couple guys. We know Conte is out still with injury. You got Kovacic, who's with Croatia. He played in that third-place match. Ziyech, who's also with Morocco, played in that third-place match. Likely not to be playing for this match just because of those deep World Cup runs. Then you get to the Bournemouth side. I don't feel comfortable, putting money on them either because they've proven they can get blown out. They lost 4-0 to City. Kevin mentioned the 9-0 loss to Liverpool, which at some point you just give up, right? So I'm not, maybe that's more like a 4-0 loss than a 9-0 loss. But it's I would not lay the goal here, but I still do think Chelsea are clearly the better team, and they should be able to win this game, especially when you think that they're going to be at home. What I don't see happening is that they win it in any sort of blowout fashion. I don't think, the one thing they haven't been doing this year is creating offensive chances. So I don't think it's going to be a 4-0, 5-0, or even 5-1 type of result. I think it's going to be tighter. I think Chelsea will find a way over the finish line, but I don't see a lot of goals. And I think a good way to play it instead of laying the 1.5 is combine Chelsea with under 3.5 goals. And you can basically get even money or close to it, maybe minus 105, maybe probably worse, minus 110 with that combination. And again, you can find that under same game parlay or one game parlay at the like BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel markets. But Chelsea money line and under 3.5 goals.
All right, Nick Borrman, WagerTalk.com. Pavlos, I'm going to give you the final word, and then we've got to get into our best bet segment to close off the show. I said a 1-0. I'd be happy with a 1-0 Chelsea win, and that would give both the guys before you here winners with their plays. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, my play kind of aligns with what you guys said. I'm just going to echo what I said before about struggling teams prior to an international break, and Chelsea were a struggling team prior to the international break, winless in 5 EPL matches, 3 losses and 2 draws. However, again, we see teams perform much better. We see struggling teams perform much better after such a break because they had the time to reflect on the problems, maybe work some one-on-ones and, check some videos and whatnot. So I expect Chelsea to be better. Bournemouth, as you guys said, they probably hit the ceiling with some, good performances against Fulham, Leicester, Brentford and Newcastle. I'm not so sure if Bournemouth have what it takes to challenge Chelsea. However, we must take into account that Chelsea have won just 1 of the last 5 EPL matches against Bournemouth, 1 win, 3 losses, and 1 draw. And they also failed to score in all 3 losses against Bournemouth. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bournemouth somehow, I don't know, maybe scored a goal and then parked the bus with 11 players inside the area in order to keep that result. I just don't see a lot of goals here. I'm going to take both teams to score no at minus 120, which aligns with the 1-0 correct score. Chelsea to win and under 3.5 goals. Maybe they win by 2-0. I just go with both teams to score no. Don't care who wins at minus 120.
Don't care who wins. It is a Christmas miracle. All 3 of you guys, your plays all line up with a 1-0 Chelsea win. I'm going to look to see what the odds are on a 1-0 Chelsea win. I don't think that will be the score line, or it's not an official play, but I might throw some pizza money on that one. So let's have a look at the recap, and then we're going to get into a best bet segment where each one of the cappers on the show will tell you what they like this week and what they have up at Wager Talk and Sports and Memo. But the recap on this one, Nick with Chelsea money line and under 3.5 minus 105. Pavlos with both teams to score no at minus 120. And Kev with Bournemouth at plus 1.5 goals minus 115. Kev, I'm going to go to you first for a best bet on the show, and you're going to go to EPL. You also have a 5% play up in NHL, but tell us what you have up at Wager Talk. And because you were on the Puck Time show at the start of this week, you have a promo, PT30, which will get $30 off a 7-day all access for you. So that's probably a good time to take advantage of that 7-day all access as Kev has a 5% play up in NHL. Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, so as you said, Carmine, we've got a 4% EPL Dominator play up for next week's early slate as well. 5% NHL Supermax play going off tonight. You got that code PT30, which knocks that $30 off a 7-day all access pass. So, really excited about all those. Those were a best bet. I'll look to back another big underdog next week and take Leeds plus 1.5 to cover at home against Manchester City on Wednesday. City had 16 players called up to the World Cup squads over recent weeks. That's the most out of any team in the league. And as I said about Scotland, I've been keeping my eyes on that league. The bigger teams have struggled to gel after the first game back. So it could well happen here as well. That old magic takes a bit of time to get going. And not only that, Leeds were playing well before the break as well. They won 2 of the last 3 league games, including that 2-1 victory over Liverpool as well. So, I believe at Ellen Road, especially with that crowd behind them against, a Manchester City team that's still getting warmed up to the season, second half of the season, Leeds can hang tough on this one, cover the spread on Wednesday against City. So, Leeds for me, plus 1.5 on Wednesday, at plus 105, best bet.
All right, there you go with Kev. Grab his 5% NHL play over at Wagers Talk on his page. Nick, I saw a tweet before I left for Florida to head back last night back to the cold and snow up here in Canada, and I saw that you've got even a golf 1-year package, I believe, up. It's all the major tournaments ahead of you. Tell us what's going on at Wager Talk and give us a free play best bet winner here.
Yeah, the golf season on break for the holidays picks back up right in the beginning of January. Been a great fall, which is usually the slowest part of the year, but 4 outright winners since the season started in September, plus 34% already. So rest of the season, which is January through Tour Championship at the end of August, is just $199. No promo code needed, so you can just head over to my page on that. And for soccer, I do have a play out for today, which is the Man City-Liverpool EFL Cup match, and then a 2-pack of best bets, 4% best bets set for Boxing Day right now. So definitely good time to grab or check that out. Best bet I have for this weekend, or for Boxing Day rather, is going to the second-tier English division, which is the Championship, and looking to take in another combo play, Sheffield United money line plus under 3.5 goals. First thing to know in the Championship is 3.5 goals is a lot in this league. And Sheffield has a 6-17 over-under record against 3.5 goals, and Coventry is 5-17 against that number as well. So that's a good indicator that this is a high number in this league. Sheffield, they sit second in the table. They've won 6 of their last 7. Granted, the World Cup break was in the middle of that, but since their return, they've won each of their 2 matches so far. Both of them have stayed under 3.5 goals as well. Defense has been excellent. They allow the fewest shots on target to date so far this season. Coventry, they've won just 1 of their 3 matches so far since the return of play, and they did play just yesterday, Wednesday, so this is a little bit of a quicker or shorter turnaround for them. Sheffield leads the league, plus 13.4 expected goal differential. Actually better at home, plus 16.6. Coventry basically dead even, plus 0.3. And on the road, slightly down at minus 0.7. So you could take Sheffield United money line by itself, but you're going to have to lay close to minus 150. So another way just to kind of buy down the price. I think they'll find a way to win it, and I just don't see a lot of goals. So Sheffield United money line plus under 3.5 goals will get you a small plus price at about plus 115 or plus 120.
All right, Nick Borrman at WagerTalk, and we'll close it out with Pavlos, and he's coming right back to the EPL as well too. Pavlos, give us a free play winner and what you have up at Sports Memo.
Yeah, I do have a 4% best bet on the just huge game between Manchester City and Liverpool. I also added a couple of props in there as well for you to have some fun tonight. I do have a 5% that's not loaded yet at my page, but hint, it's going to be from the La Liga. It's next week, so keep that in mind. Now for my free play, I'm going to take you guys to a Monday match between Crystal Palace and Fulham. I'm going to take the first half draw at plus 110. Crystal Palace, in first halves, they have 3 wins, 3 losses, and 8 draws, which are the most draws in the league. At home, Crystal Palace, in first halves again, they have 1 win, 2 losses, and 4 draws, which is the second most home first half draws in the league. They scored 5 goals, they scored 4 goals, and conceded 5. Now, Fulham, in first halves, overall, they have 3 wins, 5 losses, and 7 draws, which are the second most first half draws in the league. Fulham, in first halves on the road, they have 0 wins, 2 losses, and 5 draws. Those are the most away first half draws in the league. They've scored 3 goals and conceded 5. So I'm taking the first half draw at plus 110 here.
All right. And Pavlos, I'm going to throw some pizza money on the full-time draw plus 1-1 plus 650 and see if I can score some pizza over the holidays. All right. So just to do a quick recap of these best bets for the guys. Kevin is on Leeds plus 1.5 plus 105. Nick is on Sheffield United money line in under 3.5 at plus 120, and Pavlos has the first half draw plus 110. Crystal Palace and Fulham. Guys, we're going to be back on a Tuesday of next week. We're going to look at some more EPL games, get some discussion going, and then I'll have a great promo together for you guys for the new season and the last 5 or 6 months of the domestic league season, which factors in Champions League, Europa League, a lot of what is still left in the European soccer season. For myself, Nick Borrman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos Laguretos, we want to wish you a happy holidays. We appreciate you always tuning in. Hit that like button and have a great weekend and Boxing Day. And we will see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m.
In the spirit of the holidays, we want you to celebrate with your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicappers and do it at a discount by giving you a one-time 25% off everything you can fit into your cart between now and midnight on December 25th using coupon code GIFT25 when checking out. While this coupon can only be used once at WagerTalk and once at Sports Memo, the value is unlimited and there is no limit on what you can add to your cart when redeeming. Daily, all access, season, pick your team, and even mix and match handicappers as the combinations are endless. Remember, there's no limit to the number of handicappers at WagerTalk and Sports Memo you can lock in, but coupon code GIFT25 will expire at midnight on Christmas. On behalf of everyone at WagerTalk, Sports Memo, and Gold Sheet, we want to thank you for supporting us in 2022 by watching our videos, following us on social media, and trusting us with your wagers. However you celebrate, we wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.